Let's switch to a new topic. Switch statements. A switch statement is a control flow statement that allows a program to execute a different block of code depending on the value of a given expression. Okay, that sounds a bit complicated. But it's pretty much an alternative to using multiple if-else statements and can make your code look more concise and a lot easier and nicer to read, and therefore more maintainable. Well, let's have a look at this very promising syntax. The switch statement works by evaluating an expression. And this expression is going to be matched against the case labels. You can see the case labels here. The case labels are a certain value. And when the expression matches one of the case labels, the code inside the case block is going to be executed if the expression equals that value. So let's say in this example, our expression equals value 2. That means the code after value 2 is going to be executed. But the code following the matching case label is executed until a break statement is encountered or the end of the switch block is reached. If no match is found, the code following the code label is executed. The default label does not have to be present, it's optional. It specifies the code to be executed if the expression right after the switch does not equal any of the specified values. The expression can be of a few specific types: byte, short, char, int, enums, string, and wrapper classes of the allowed primitives. So, uppercase, character, byte, short, and integer. I want to point out that there's a break statement at the end of every case block. If we would not have this, the code would fall through to the next case label. And that's a bit weird to imagine, but just picture it like this. As soon as we find a match, it's just going to continue till either the end of the switch statement or until it encounters a break. Often, we only want to execute the code for that specific case, so it's very common to have a break at the very end of every case. This actually allows us to specify one action for multiple cases by pretty much stacking them on top of each other with no break statement. Here you can see the difference between our first situation where we were checking for 3 different inputs, written using an if statement and written with a switch statement. So the popular opinion is that the switch statement is easier to read and better to maintain than the if statement. Both will do the same thing though. Just like the if statement, switch statements are a very useful tool for deciding how to execute the program and controlling the flow. In the next video, we'll see some practical examples of the switch statement in IntelliJ. Alright, let's start with coding some switch statements in IntelliJ. Let's say we have some sort of string that holds the extension of some sort of file. And I'm going to start with PDF here. I'm going to create a switch statement that's going to check for certain extensions. So it's going to switch over the extension. Please mind that this one cannot be a boolean, but it can be a string or byte, char, int, etc. So we are switching over this extension by creating some case labels. And I'm going to start with docx and just print whatever it is, which is a bit less real world-like, but we'll do the trick for now and help you understand how these switch statements work. By the way, in order to get back to this case level, I need to do a shift tab because IntelliJ is not helping me with that. Let me tell you what I mean. So I do this and I go to the next line and I just do whatever and I say this is the presentation. Now I want to outend, pretty much. And if I do a backspace, I go back to the previous line. So what I do Shift Tab, which brings me back here, and I can write case. Let me go for PDF here. It also works if you just go to the next line, type case. I can't stand looking at it, so I do Shift Tab. But now it switched back automatically. And then I can say here, this is a text file. And then default will say, we don't support this file. Again, I do Shift Tab, but you can also just wait for it to pop back. All right, so let's see what happens if I run this code. And as you can see, it now prints all the text pretty much. Why is that? Well, this is because I did not include the break statements. Remember when I said if you don't include a break statement, it will fall through. So here's what happened. It matched with the PDF because that's the value of my string extension. And then it printed, this is a PDF file, which I actually accidentally did with printf instead of println, which is why in the output they are on the same line. But as you can see, it also prints this is a text file because it fell through to the next case, which is not what I wanted because it's even printing. We do not support this file. So what I need to do, I need to go ahead and add all these break statements in order to avoid it from falling through. And now I have a break statement after every case. And if I run it again, you'll see that now it will only print this is a PDF file. All right, so that's how to create a switch statement. I actually want to show you one more. And in this case, I'm going to use an int that's going to hold a month and it's going to hold 1 for January, 2 for February, etc. So I'm just going to do 3, so it's going to represent March. And then in here, I'm going to say month. And I'm actually not going to do print it for every month, but instead I want it to show the number of days in a month. And this is where I can actually stack the case labels, what I was talking about. So for example, January has the same number of days as March, and the same number of days as May, same number of days as July, and August, and October, and December. So what I'll print here is this month has 31 days. And then I'm going to do the same for the 30 days. So it would be case 4, case 6, case 9, case 11. And then I'm going to print this month has 30 days. And then there's one that's left out at this point, and that's for February, who's a bit weird because it has either 28 or 29 days. Okay, so if I'm going to run it, it is again going to fall through, but not in the way you would hope, because I did not add my breaks. So we want to add breaks after a block. We want to have a certain fall through happening, but we don't want it to fall through after having stumbled upon the print statement, because after that we're done. So when it's case 1, we want it to fall through all the way to case 12, but then it needs to break. And as you can see, in this case, pun intended, I did not add the default option. It's not obligated. I don't want to have a default option. So this is it. Let's run it. And as you can see, it now prints this month has 31 days because March does. So at this point, using it for this situation, does it look like pretty code to me? No, it does not. And I would probably prefer to use an if statement for this. Having said that, that is my personal opinion. Well, it's also a bit of my professional opinion, clearly. But opinions differ. In this case, I would totally have gone for the if statement. Some people like this syntax better. None of this is right, probably. I would definitely say I like the switch statement better than the if, else if, else if, else if statement. So before we end our discussion on switch statements, I actually want to admit something, and that there is nowadays a lot more possible with the switch statement. But this is a very complicated syntax and we don't need it right now, so we'll see it later. I just want to warn you that you might come across it on the internet, and then that's the syntax I'm talking about. We'll see it later when we discuss more advanced code.